There is a fountain filled with blood, drawn from Emmanuel's veins. And sinners, plunged beneath that flood, lose all their guilty stains. This hymn was beautifully written by William Cowper in Olney, England, and published in 1779. Though the hymn is indeed beautiful, the history of the man who wrote it is ugly. William Cowper struggled with mental illness and deep depression due to traumatic experiences he suffered both in his youth and as an adult. When he was only 6 years old, Cowper lost his mother, who died of an unknown illness, leaving him lonely and empty. He grew up under a strict religious father, who was a minister, but not a good example of grace and love to his son, making Cowper feel inadequate and unforgiven by God. He was sent off to boarding school, where he was mistreated and bullied for a prolonged period of time. He had women he loved in his life, but was never loved back, causing deep heartaches and further feelings of unworthiness and despair. Perhaps most painful were his feelings that he was eternally damned by God, not worthy of his forgiveness. He attempted to take his own life several times but was not successful. In one of his darkest moments, as he was grappling with feelings of guilt and despair, he randomly turned to the Bible, specifically, Romans 3:25, which reads, "God presented him as a sacrifice of atonement, through faith in his blood." He did this to demonstrate his justice, because in his forbearance he had left the sins committed beforehand unpunished. Upon reading this, Cowper finally understood that God demonstrated his justice, not by condemning him to eternal punishment, but by offering the forgiveness of sins by the shedding of his blood on the cross. He received assurance of God's love and redemption. Cowper experienced God's grace, and this grace sustained him throughout his life. It was also during this time that Cowper's friend, John Newton, penned the words to the famous hymn, "Amazing Grace," that became another source of inspiration and support to him. The two friends went on to write many hymns and poems together that express God's love and grace. Throughout his life, Cowper's faith was not just theoretical but deeply personal. He frequently turned to prayer, and he credited many answered prayers with the strength to overcome his mental health challenges. Prayer became his lifeline, providing him with a sense of peace, purpose, and hope. His faith in God's providence enabled him to endure the darkest moments of his life with resilience and perseverance. Despite the deep and real struggles Cowper experienced throughout his life, his assurance of God's love and forgiveness became his anchor and source of stability. He knew until the very end of his life that he was God's, and God was his.